It's Tuesday, June 20th. My name is Rich, and this is your 5-minute fix. Double XL. All right, guys, this is some wild stuff. I know it's Tuesday. I wouldn't usually drop a video today. I got stuff coming for tomorrow too, but this is just too crazy not to talk about. This is going to be a double XL version, so disregard the 5-minute thing. This is just too wild. You got to talk about it. Titanic sub-search live. No sign of missing vessels so far. U.S. Coast Guard says. This is from Sky News. I've chosen to go with this article because they have a great timeline, as well as a little bit of a video here that we're going to watch right away on just exactly everything that's gone on with this missing tourist submersible doing a tour of the Titanic. Well, supposed tour of the Titanic. The U.S. Coast Guard says search efforts have not yielded any results so far and estimates that Titan, that's the name of this submersible, has approximately 40 hours of oxygen left. Sky News understands King Charles has asked to be kept fully up to date on the situation. Who gives a rip if King Charles? But anyways, so here are the key points. U.S. Coast Guard says no sign of vessel so far as the Titan has around 40 hours of oxygen left. Worst case scenario would be a catastrophic implosion of the submarine itself. What we know so far about the search operation, who is involved in the rescue operation and why it's so difficult, and then a couple videos there, live action, but here we go. Let's take a look at this video.
This is the Titan submersible. It's 6.7 meters or 22 feet long. Its hull is made out of carbon fiber and titanium, and it weighs nearly 10.5 tons, about the same as 6 cars, which according to its operator, OceanGate, means it's lighter and cheaper to run than any other deep water sub.
Interesting.
Titan is powered by 4 electric thrusters, which allow it to travel at a top speed of 3 knots or 3.4 miles per hour. And it's able to dive to depths of 4,000 meters, roughly 13,000 feet. OceanGate says it would take 2 hours to dive the roughly 3,800
Ironic that this thing is called OceanGate.
To where Titanic lies. The vessel is designed to take 5 people with enough oxygen for around 96 hours. A porthole window at one end lets passengers peer out into the depths, and large screens display various data from cameras and scanners that are mounted on the outside. And it also has a system for monitoring the vessel's hull in real time, which means it's possible to analyze how the hull is coping under the extreme pressure. Now, in theory, that should give the pilot enough warning of any problems to safely return to the surface in plenty of time. The search for the missing craft is focused in the Atlantic Ocean, about 370.
I have so many thoughts, questions, things to comment, but we'll watch the rest of this video first.
70 miles to the south of Newfoundland in Canada. And let's be clear, this is an incredibly remote part of the ocean. It's said to have an undulating seabed at a depth of nearly 13,000 feet, with the Titanic wreck lying in a trench. And that's so deep that Britain's highest mountain, Ben Nevis, would fit in nearly 3 times. So what are the conditions like at such depths? A former Royal Navy Rear Admiral gave us his assessment.
The pressure down at that level is about 2 tons per square inch, whereas of course at the surface it's just 1 atmosphere. So you've got that to contend with. So the pressure hull has to withstand that sort of weight.
Hence why they've made it of titanium and carbon fiber, two very strong materials.
If you like. Secondly, it's very cold, and if they don't have any electricity, it's dark as well. So these are extreme survival conditions. But the critical thing is that the pressure hull withstands that pressure.
Now, this time-lapse shows marine traffic in the hours after the sub went missing. You can see that a number of ships start to move to the area where it disappeared.
Yeah, that's crazy. I haven't seen it that yet. Let's go back for a sec. Hold up.
2021
my brother
shows marine traffic in the hours after the sub.
I haven't seen this.
You can see that a number of ships start to move to the area where it disappeared. And according to OceanGate, the Titan made successful expeditions to the Titanic wreckage in both 2021 and 2022. And it's undergone more than 50 test dives, including, the company says, to a depth of nearly 4,000 meters.
Okay, so, you know, that is a pretty good rundown of exactly the vessel itself, what it contains and stuff like that, the procedures, all that kind of stuff. Now, there are a couple interesting things in which I saw an additional video, which I might even just throw up just that one section with an expert, so-called expert on this situation, just in regards to some of the safety measures that you would usually have in this kind of situation that this submersible does not have. But first, let's take a little read here. This is 2 hours ago. I know what it's like. Scientist recalls getting caught in a current while on dive to the Titanic. A scientist who visited the wreck in 2000 and was caught in a strong underwater current at the site says its heart goes out to the people who are lost in the Titan vessel. Author and scientist Dr. Michael Guillen, who knows, told Sky News he feels sick to my stomach to think of those poor people down there. I know what it's like. Dr. Guillen visited the wreck in September 2000 after being invited as the first correspondent to report from the Titanic. He explained that during the dive, their submersible became caught in a strong underwater current that slammed them into the ship's propellers. Ouch. He said, huge pieces of the Titanic started falling down on us and I knew we were in trouble. The scientist survived, but during the incident, he thought it was the end. He said, I really hit a brick wall and realized that this is the end of it. This voice in my head, I'll never forget the words, this is how it's going to end for you. For me, that was a bitter pill to swallow, and I thought of my wife and I thought I'd never see her again. I don't like recalling that experience. My heart goes out to those people who are lost. I'm just so sick to my stomach to think of those poor people down there. I know what it's like. And that is, you know, a firsthand experience of being in a similar situation. And personally myself, I could imagine you wouldn't catch me going down nowhere in a submersible unless it's a big ass submarine and, you know, they got all sorts of safety buzzers and transponders and all that kind of jazz. Ain't no way you catch me in that kind of situation, but that's quite the firsthand experience in terms of somebody who's been down there and might know what it's like to be in that situation. So 4 hours ago, there was an update. That's what we're going to look at right now. What we know so far about Titan and the search operation. The US Coast Guard gave an update at 6 p.m. UK time and said the search for the Titan vessel has yielded no results. Here's what we know so far about what happened to the submersible. The 21-foot, in the video it said 22-foot, Titan vessel lost contact with research vessel Polar Prince around 1 hour and 45 minutes into the vessel's dive towards the Titanic wreck on Sunday morning. 5 people are on board Titan, including a British billionaire and the chief executive of Ocean Gate Inc., Titan's operator. The US Coast Guard says the vessel has the capacity to stay underwater for 96 hours, and in the recent briefing, officials believe it has around 40 hours of oxygen left. The Coast Guard says so far search efforts have not yielded any results, as officials describe the operation as complex and multi-agency, involving a range of specialized equipment. US and Canadian aircraft have searched about 7,600 square miles larger than the state of Connecticut. The Titanic site is about 900 miles, 1,450 kilometers east of Cape Cod and lies at about 12,500 feet. That is 3,810 meters. That essentially is the situation right now as it remains. We have yet to hear anything. Obviously, this developing situation. What we'll do as well, this article does include a little bit of information about the people that are on board. What we know about those on board the missing vessel. 5 people are on board the submersible, as we stated before, which went missing during a voyage to the Titanic shipwreck off the coast of Canada. Here's what we know about them. Hamish Harding. Hamish Harding is a British billionaire, 58 years old. He was confirmed as one of the passengers by his stepson, Brian Saz, who said on Facebook that his stepfather was in his thoughts and prayers. Based in the United Arab Emirates, where Action Aviation headquarters is based, Mr. Harding describes himself on social media as a world explorer. He holds the Guinness World Record for the fastest circumnavigation of the Earth via the North and South Poles by an aircraft, 46 hours, 40 minutes, and 22 seconds. If that is not the description of a world explorer, I don't know what is. Stockton Rush. Stockton Rush is chief executive and founder of Ocean Gate Inc., a company that provides crewed submersible services to enable researchers and explorers to access the ocean's vast resources. Having trained as a pilot, he became the youngest jet transport rated pilot in the world at the age of 19. Now, that is wild. Paul Henry Nargeolet. Paul Henry Nargeolet is a former commander who served in the French Navy for 25 years. During his service, he became the captain of the Deep Submergence Group of the Navy. After leaving the Navy, he joined the French Institute for Research and Exploitation of the Sea, according to the Five Deeps Expedition, a company that assembles scientists, engineers, and submersible operators for missions. Mr. Nargeolet has already led several expeditions to the Titanic site and has been involved in numerous scientific and technical expeditions around the world. And the last two, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, 48, and his 19-year-old son Solomon, who are both British citizens, are also on board, their family said in a statement. The Dawoods belong to one of Pakistan's most prominent families whose eponymous firm invests across the country in agriculture, industries, and the health sector. Now, let it be known, the cost to go on this mission, maybe I shouldn't call it a mission, on this tourist adventure was $250,000 a pop, I believe is what was reported. So a lot of money went into these people going on board. Like the article says, this is the third, I believe, venture down to see the Titanic wreck. So there is a little bit of experience. Now, with all that being said, we're going to take a look at another video that I watched earlier today with an individual who called into a television network. I believe it's in the UK. It's called Talk TV. Came across my YouTube feed, but we're going to take a look at this video and we are going to listen to this so-called expert, or somebody who has experience anyways in submersibles and this kind of situation.
In Norway. And Colin, you actually work as a remote vehicle operator for subs yourself, don't you?
That's correct, Julia. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Do you know what? When I said, look, call in if you happen to know when you're an expert in this field, I kind of said it tongue in cheek. Absolutely incredible for you to get in touch. What do you make of the chances of A, finding this sub, and B, getting these men out alive?
Okay, well, there's some big holes in this story because a little bit of background. If you were,
which is key. He says there's a little bit of holes in the story. You'll see why.
I know I work in the oil and gas industry, and we send ROVs down from boats all the time, down to about 3,000 meters too. We always have at least one or two transponders on them, which is basically a little signaling device which pings the signal back to the surface for the boat to pick up, so they can identify where you are and your water depth.
Yeah.
And these things, they're actually, you can hire them or buy them, and they're straight off the shelf. There's companies all over the world rent or sell these things, and they're very accessible. They're not that expensive. So from the life of me, I cannot understand how this sub has gone down there without a few of those attached.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
So that is exactly what I'm talking about. That is what is so mind-boggling for me. You have these high-value individuals, essentially, not to diminish the fact that they're human beings, but people who are very important, you know, very prominent businessmen where they're from, we'll say. That's what we'll say. And the fact that this ship, who knows if before they had these or not, but the fact that this ship doesn't have these transponders, who, you know, this Colin from Norway is saying, you know, these things, you can get them anywhere. Many companies make them. The fact that it appears that there's none of those on this vessel, very strange in my eyes, very strange. But hopefully, one way or another, there can be a positive resolution to this, you know? So like I said, this is a developing story. Thank you for watching. Again, like I said, more than 5 minutes. Obviously, I think this is definitely something that deserves more than 5 minutes. Developing story. Hopefully, we'll have more in a positive light as well coming up with this story as well. With that being said, thank you for watching on a Tuesday when I don't really drop a video. My name is Rich. This has been your extended 5-minute fix.